I also want to mention that there's many people, I've spoken to a few of you this morning, who are just in shul because you feel like this is an important time to be in shul, and there's others who have close family and close friends who are in Israel right now, and I'm praying that all of our loved ones are okay amidst everyone in Israel, that everyone should be safe. I hear a lot of people are in the bomb shelters just waiting for time to pass, having a good time, celebrating, trying to play with their kids and keep the situation light and friendly. But I know the anxiety is real. So I pray that your families and your loved ones are safe, and especially I know there's people here who have children and grandchildren who are in Israel, and you're probably worried sick. So we all give you all a big hug, and everything should be okay. I had to rewrite my sermon yesterday, so I'm going to be talking about this war. This is a terrible, terrible conflict, but a mess that has been brewing for years and years and years. And we've been told about it for years and years and years. And it's happening in a difficult time in the world. And I think it's important we have context to understand where this conflict came from, and that this didn't just begin on Thursday, that it's rooted in decades of hatred. Israel launched this offensive against Iran Thursday night against a regime that has openly vowed to annihilate the Jewish people and destroy the free world. This isn't a clash between nations, or God forbid the actions of a war-hungry or war-addicted, what did the Globe and Mail say? A war-addicted country. This is disgusting what people are writing about Israel. This is a battle between righteousness and tyranny, truth and deception, about those who want to protect life and those who are determined to defend death. In the 60s and 70s, Iran was a beautiful country, but it was a nation in turmoil. The Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, pursued modernization. You can see videos and images of what Tehran was like in the 60s and 70s. A beautiful country with women walking around in the latest fashions and universities filled with students, happily learning, men and women, side by side. A respected country in the world with a beautiful culture, and by the way, a thriving Jewish community. We have many Persian Jews who are members of our congregation, and they come from generations of successful businessmen. The country didn't have a perfect history with regards to its relationship with the Jewish community, but under the Shah, things were really improving and Jews were doing well. The people were crying out for justice because they felt that the Shah was corrupt and oppressive. And two forces rose at that time to challenge him: the Marxists, who were dreaming of an Iran that was a classless society, and the Islamists, led by Ayatollah Khomeini, who sought an Islamic state. The Marxists rallied students and workers with promises of equality, drawing on Soviet ideals. The Islamists, meanwhile, decried the Shah's secularism as a betrayal of Iran's soul. Khomeini, who was exiled in Paris, saw an opportunity to unite these disparate forces against a common enemy. His strategy was a masterclass in deception. He spoke of unity and justice, adopted Marxist rhetoric to win over the leftists. He promised a revolution for all Iranians, not just the religious. The Marxists, who were eager for change, joined hands with the Islamists believing that they shared a common goal. In 1979, the Shah was overthrown and the revolution succeeded. But the alliance crumbled. Once in power, Khomeini turned on his Marxist allies. The Tudeh Party and the People's Mujahideen were purged. Thousands were imprisoned, tortured, or publicly executed. By 1980, Iran was a tyrannical theocracy, not a shared utopia. Women lost their rights, minorities were oppressed, universities were controlled by the thought police, and dissenters were silenced. The revolution was never about justice. It was about power. Khomeini used the Marxists as a stepping stone, and then he discarded them. Today, Iran remains a genocidal, tyrannical, apocalyptic regime. For over 4 decades, its leaders have chanted, Marj bar Yisrael, death to Israel and death to America. They arm Hezbollah and Hamas, they sow terror across the Middle East, and they pursue nuclear weapons to threaten the whole world. Their ideology, rooted in a distorted Shiite eschatology, envisions global chaos as a divine mandate to hasten the Mahdi's return. This is not a regime seeking peace, but one that glorifies death, that targets civilians while cloaking its actions in the language of righteousness. Their proxies, from Yemen's Houthis to Gaza's Hamas, carry out its mission of terror, striking at Israel and beyond with funding that Iran generously provides through their oil and gas resources. But people in the world are treating Iran as a rational actor. They think you can trust these ayatollahs signing nuclear deals and lifting sanctions in the hopes of appeasement. It's madness. When an enemy declares their intent to kill, believe them. The Holocaust, where 6 million of our people were murdered, taught us that lesson, if not any other. When an enemy declares their intent to kill, believe them. You see what happened earlier this week to the Holocaust monument in Ottawa? Its memory defaced, vandalized. I wonder if it's a portent, a shameful act that dishonors the martyrs, yes, but ignores history's warning. That's what that defacement represented to me. Not only are we going to destroy the memory of the 6 million, but we're going to fail to learn the lessons that their martyrdom ought to have taught us. The international community's attempts to negotiate with Iran echo the futile diplomacy of the 30s. Iran has shown, through its actions and words, that it cannot be trusted. Its pursuit of nuclear capabilities threatens not only Israel, but the entire free world. And in Iran, the people suffer terribly under this regime's yoke. We're living in a neighborhood with lots of Persian people. You know, they're cheering for Israel as loudly as we are, because in Iran, women are beaten for showing their hair, as seen in the brutal crackdown on protests following Mahsa Amini's death 2 years ago. Religious minorities, and there are a few Jews who are left in Iran, they live in constant fear of persecution. The economy collapses under mismanagement and sanctions, but there are always billions of dollars available to fund terror abroad. This is the legacy of a revolution built on lies. This is a nation that is enslaved by people who promised liberation. They cloak their evil in the language of justice. They are master deceivers, and they want to deceive the whole world. And the question is whether we here in Canada are also at risk for falling for their deception and their efforts to blur the lines between right and wrong. You know, a chilling parallel is unfolding in this country. Radical Islamist narratives embed themselves within progressive ideologies, just like the Ayatollahs did in the 70s, particularly in the woke movement, where they found themselves warmly received. The pro-Palestinian cause has been hijacked by those who use social justice rhetoric to advance an agenda that opposes Canadian values. They speak of oppression and colonialism and align themselves with progressive causes like anti-racism and LGBT and inclusivity. It's a lie, a lie, a lie. Consider Hamas, Iran's proxy in Gaza. Would a gay person survive 5 minutes in Gaza under their rule? Hamas executes homosexuals, oppresses women, and crushes dissent. Yet the stupid protesters in this country are rallying, waving rainbow flags at pro-Palestinian rallies, as if these causes are compatible. It's not ignorance, it's willful blindness, exploiting Canadian tolerance and naivete to promote the opposite, intolerance and hatred and terror. Radical Islamists in Canada are using our compassion as a tool, just as Khomeini used the Marxists. They don't want justice. They want influence and power. They want to undermine the very freedoms that allow them to be out there on the street and protest in the first place. And where is Canada's leadership in this crisis? I want to hear a Prime Minister who can unequivocally condemn Iran's genocidal ambitions. Unequivocally. Israel is fighting, and we should be proud, but it is a shame that they are fighting, for the most part, completely alone. Completely alone. A little country of 10 million people is bearing the burdens of the whole world that recognizes that Iran is a genocidal regime. They're not stupid. That's not a secret. We hear what the Ayatollahs say. But the leadership in the West wants to call Israel warmongers and blame Israel for this. It's shameful. They treat Israel and Iran as two sides of a dispute, ignoring the moral chasm between a democracy fighting for survival and a tyranny seeking destruction. The defacement of Ottawa's Holocaust Monument is a symptom of our failure to learn history's lessons. We want to impose our narratives on the Shoah, refusing to see that evil needs to be confronted. The Prime Minister speaks of increasing our military budget, but without moral clarity. Why? It's meaningless. A nation that cannot name its enemies or define its values is lost. Who cares how many guns you have? Iran is not a partner for peace, and the answer to this conflict is not, at this point, de-escalation. Radical Islamists are not allies in justice. We have to stand for freedom, and we have to understand what truth is. And this is the time to protect Am Yisrael. Today, as I speak, Israel is fighting for its survival against Iran and its proxies. Israel is a democracy, a light in a region of darkness. It seeks to protect its people while Iran is purposefully targeting civilians with abandon. We stand unequivocally with Israel's right to defend itself. Are you with me?
Yes.
This is a matter of pikuach nefesh, the preservation of life, which takes precedence over all else. Israel's fight is not just for Jews, but for all who value freedom. To equate Israel with Iran, to imagine them sitting side by side at a negotiating table and coming up with an agreement that we can assume would be respected, is to abandon history and reason and righteousness. We demand moral clarity from our leaders. Canada must name Iran for what it is, a genocidal regime. We must reject the false equivalence that paralyzes our policy. We must expose the deception of radical Islamist narratives in our midst before they take root. And as all our Israeli brothers and sisters are fighting back and defending themselves physically, I encourage everybody, encourage isn't a strong enough word, I need everybody to make sure that we are supporting them as much as we can with our voices and our conviction and our prayers for Israel, for Canada, and for the oppressed people in Iran. We will share the truth with conviction, challenging narratives that distort good and evil. We will support organizations that defend Israel and freedom, and we will hold our leaders accountable. If we fail to act, we risk repeating history's mistakes. Appeasing Iran is like ignoring the threats of our ancient enemies, whose memory we are commanded to erase. We cannot be a people of fear, and we're not a people of fear anymore. We are a people of resolve. I feel very proud to be Jewish. I feel really proud to be Jewish today. I hope you feel the same. We're not a nation that will be dying on our knees, but will be standing up and fighting for what's right. From the Exodus through the wilderness, from the Maccabees' revolt against oppression, from the ashes of the Shoah to the rebirth of our national homeland. Oh yes, we faced enemies who sought our destruction, but each time, V'hi she'amda lavotenu velanu, every time we have endured, not by might alone, but by the strength of our faith and the promise of our God. Our enemies may deface monuments, they may sow terror, they may cloak their hatred in the language of justice, but they will not break us. Iran may chant Marg Bar Yisrael, but we will respond with strength, unyielding as a people chosen to bear witness to truth. We will stand tall and united and defiant and proclaim that the people of Israel lives. Am Yisrael Chai. We will not bow to deception or fear. We'll support Israel with every fiber of our being through prayer and advocacy and action. We will call out Canada's leaders for their silence and demand that they stand with righteousness. And we will face our enemies with the courage of our ancestors, knowing that our strength comes from God and God alone. We pray and declare, Adonai Oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. The Lord will give strength to his people. The Lord will bless his people with peace. This is our promise, and this is our power. With God's strength, we will prevail. And with God's blessing, we will build a world of peace. Shabbat Shalom.